Chair, Dr. Anthony Thompson, our third Vice Chair. Jalen, our third Vice Chair, Dr. Thompson, our second Vice Chair. Our DNC members, Bree Maxwell, Carol Fowler, Sam is at work, I believe, this afternoon, and then Clay Middleton. Thank you for being here. We are glad to welcome the Build Back Better Tour to talk about what this president and vice president are doing for the people of South Carolina. For all of you printing this in the media and recording, and I want you to know we're not far from the governor's mansion. That governor has refused to expedite releasing funds for rental assistance across the state of South Carolina. Now, that's not for people who can't necessarily afford to pay their rent, but think about the small businesses and the people who own that property that are going to be jeopardized because this governor refuses to ask the Department of Administration to expedite this process. Today, the second round of child tax credits were released and sent out, lifting 1 million families out of poverty and helping assist those families. The fact is that we're going to have $6 billion over a span of 20 years to replace the system that brings water to our houses, to our businesses, to our houses of worship. And this governor and the Republicans in this state and this country don't think that's important. But President Biden, Vice President Harris, and the Democratic National Committee and the South Carolina Democratic Party think it is. And that's why we're here. We're glad to have the Build Back Better Tour stop in this state to remind the governor and the Republicans that control it all that we have a plan to make our state better and lead our country into the next generation. And so with that, it's my honor to introduce Gary Votter, a candidate for governor in South Carolina. Gary?
Thank you. Yep. Greetings. I'm Gary Votter, and I'm running for governor of South Carolina. First of all, I want to thank the Democratic Party and the DNC for the opportunity to speak today. The expanded child tax credits, the increased ACA premium subsidies, just a couple of things that are helping South Carolinians recover from the ongoing COVID pandemic. And on behalf of all South Carolinians, I want to tell them thank you. I'm a healthcare advocate and a social justice activist, not a career politician. I stand as a candidate for the issues that I and many others believe in. I'm pro-union, pro-immigration, and I believe in the legalization of marijuana. I'm against the death penalty and open carry. I unequivocally support a living wage of at least $15 an hour, equal rights for all South Carolinians, and I stand firmly for a woman's right to make personal health care decisions about things like abortion in privacy and without interference from anyone. I also have a plan to not only expand Medicaid to cover several 100,000 people in our state who can't afford health insurance, and that plan will actually lower the cost of health insurance for everybody. And you can read that on my website, www.garyvotter.garyforgovsc.com. I did that, I remembered. But I want to speak for a moment about something important, about what it means to be a governor. It's the highest position of leadership that one can be elected to in our state. And whoever assumes that role must make decisions that affect the lives of every citizen in our state. It requires the ability not only to inspire others, but to show compassion to those who are disadvantaged by race or income. This has never been more needed than it is now, as we struggle to survive a pandemic that's taken the lives of over 10,000 of our friends, our coworkers, our family members. Unfortunately, Governor McMaster has neither of those characteristics of leadership. His pandemic responses have encouraged a culture of misinformation to thrive in our state, a culture that believes personal freedom and choice trumps the right of others to not become infected and die from COVID. Governor McMaster has deliberately cultivated these beliefs with the sole intent of getting reelected next year. And people will continue to die unless he decides to show actual leadership during this crisis. If he refuses to do so, he really should just resign now. We know he won't, so we're going to have to defeat him. And to defeat him next fall, we need to recognize as a party that the solution is to reach the 1 million registered voters who did not vote last year with a message that we have them at the forefront of our actions and the political positions that we represent as a party. If we do this as compassionate, responsible, and caring candidates, they'll vote for us. So that's my campaign in a nutshell. To reach the voters who feel disillusioned and disenfranchised with a message of hope. Hope that working together, we can elect a compassionate governor who will stand for the things that matter the most to them. The living wage and healthcare equity are just two of the issues that I'll be representing throughout this season as a candidate. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Next up, Representative Gilda Cobb-Hunter.
Oh, thanks so much, Gary. Hey, y'all, how's everybody? It's hot out here. I don't have a whole lot to say. I want to thank Chairman Harrison and the members of the DNC for bringing the Build Back Better tour to South Carolina. And I know we are going to have conversations about voter registration, but let me tell you what I think is real important is voter education. And what we need to be making sure of in this state and around the country is that we are talking to people about why they need to register and vote. And the whole message is already before us with the Build Back Better. What the president has done, along with the Democrats in Congress, is get this country headed back in the right direction. Talk about tax cuts today is April 13th. Friday the 13th. Lord have mercy, I've lost track of time. It's the pandemic, y'all. Everybody's blaming the pandemic for everything. Here's my point. Friday the 13th sometimes is an unlucky day. What we know here in America is that Friday the 13th is a good day. You know why? Because the second installment of the child tax credit hits pocketbooks today. We know that as a result of the child care tax credit, that kids have come out of poverty in the highest numbers that we've seen, period. Tax cuts that are going to middle class people have been paid for. Very quickly, let me wrap my comments up by suggesting to you that here in South Carolina, we have got to take the message of what is going on in the Congress as far as making this economy better, making things better. We've got a whole lot of things that are positive that Democrats are doing and have done. But if we don't talk about it, nobody will know about it. So here's my message to you. We have each got to be ambassadors, missionaries, so that we are being clear about what the Biden administration is doing. We need to do a better job, in my view, of showing what has happened, because that way we can give people a reason to want to register and a reason to want to go out and vote. So let this not be the end of the message about building back better. For those of us who are blessed and highly favored enough to serve in the South Carolina legislature, we got some work to do. We've got to make sure that those dollars that are coming into this state, mainly with Democratic votes, we have got to make sure that those dollars go into those communities that are most deserving and most needy. So thanks for coming out. We've got a long haul before us. It can be done. All we need to do is not give up the fight and understand that the best way to eat an elephant is one small bite at a time. Thank you so much. It's my honor and pleasure and privilege to introduce to you one of our rising stars, as far as I'm concerned, my seatmate, my fellow colleague in the South Carolina House, the Honorable Russell Ott, Assistant Leader of the Democratic Caucus. Representative Ott.
Thank you, Gilda, to my beautiful seatmate, and thank each and every one of you for coming out here today in famously hot Columbia. It is certainly living up to its name this afternoon, so thanks for braving the heat. Thank you, Chairman Harrison, for coming, a native Orangeburgian from that my mom actually taught at OW High School. Proud that he's back in Columbia and South Carolina today. Folks, I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. I'm just very proud and very honored to be able to stand here in front of you today and talk about the Build Back Better plan. The bottom line is, folks, Democrats have good ideas too. You know, it's, in South Carolina, you don't always get to hear about it a lot. You know, we're outnumbered in the General Assembly. You know, you turn around left and right, you see on media, you know, crazy people that at the end of the day aren't doing anything but running for re-election. That's what we have as far as the majority leadership here in Columbia. They are running based off of poll numbers in their primaries. That is not leadership. Leadership is identifying problems, coming up with solutions to those problems, and then getting those implemented. That is what we are lacking here in the state of South Carolina. Thankfully, we have great candidates that are upcoming or are going to be offering themselves for election. We've got to get those folks elected. But we do have, luckily, leadership in D.C. right now. I can't tell you how proud I am, and you're going to hear other people talk about parts of this plan, and people have already talked about it thus far. But this child tax credit is a big deal. As a father of 2 boys, I know how expensive it is to raise kids. And so let me be very clear about what this is. This is a Democratic tax cut. There's no other way to talk about it. This is putting hard-earned dollars that South Carolinians and Americans have earned back in their pockets. And it was done under a Democratic administration. So that's something that should be celebrated. With only Democratic votes. That is exactly right, Mr. Chairman. And that is something that should be celebrated and built upon. So again, folks, the bottom line is Democrats have very great ideas. Stand with us. Let's get some more Democrats elected in South Carolina so that we can implement some of those good ideas. Speaking of someone with fantastic ideas, it is my honor to now introduce another candidate for governor, someone who I think would absolutely bring a breath of fresh air into the governor's mansion in the state of South Carolina, a senator from right here in South Carolina, Senator Mia McLeod. Welcome to the stage, Senator.
Hello, everybody. Ooh, it is hot out here. I will not be long. It's so good to see all of you out here today. And we've got our share of challenges, yes. But before I even get started, I'd like to thank Chairman Harrison and the DNC, Chairman Robertson and the SCDP, and all of you for braving this famously hot heat that we have here in Columbia and being here today. You know, this pandemic is continuing to wreak havoc on our state. And it didn't have to be this way. I'm so grateful for the vision and the fortitude and the hard work that President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have put in, along with their Democratic, primarily Democratic supporters in Washington. What I will say is that if we had a governor in South Carolina who cared about the people of this state, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be back to this. As most of you know, I have a pre-existing condition. I have sickle cell anemia. And I've been fully vaccinated. So I was so grateful for that and looking forward to better days when we didn't need these as much anymore. We had a little reprieve, but here we are, right back where we started, and now it's getting even worse. I represent Richland and Kershaw counties in the Senate. And just yesterday or the day before, the numbers of kids, our babies, who have been forced back to school without any protections, the numbers are staggering, and they're only going to get worse. The American Rescue Plan is sending so much money to this state. As a matter of fact, I recently wrote a letter to the governor and the Department of Administration's Director, Marcia Adams, to ask why. Why won't you just request the over $435 million that's slated to come to this state to help us recover, as we are still being just pounded by this pandemic? All he has to do, all his administration has to do, is request the money. So far, only 17, I believe, of our smaller cities and towns have received a dime of that money. And that's only because they have 50,000 or more people in those cities and towns. The rest of them have to wait. They have to wait for a governor who always lets his politics trump the people of this state. That has to change. I just hate that we got to wait until 2022. But I am in this race for those reasons and more. It's time for us to build back better. I'm looking forward to it. I need you. I need you with me in this fight. I can't do it by myself. We can't do it by ourselves. As hard as we work in the South Carolina General Assembly, there's so much more work to do. When I'm elected governor, you will have every dime of federal money that comes into this state so that we can build back better together. I will be a governor who has the courage to lead, the guts to govern, and the experience to hit the ground running on day one. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for caring about the people of this state. Thank you for working with all of us to build South Carolina back better.
Thank you, Senator. She sees enough of me. We just saw each other very recently. Well, thank everyone for braving this heat. My name is Tamisha Grant, and I am one of the organizers for Greenville County in the Register 46 program. I just wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about my experience as a part of this program and the importance of voter registration. I have lived and worked in Greenville most of my adult life, and I've seen it grow and change. I've worked for multiple candidates, including our national chair, Mr. Jaime Harrison, and I've learned one thing that has stayed with me. The key to success lies with the people. The people are the ones who vote, and at the end of the day, they are the ones who matter the most. Our team has been able to do amazing work, including partnerships with many community organizations and activist groups across the state. We have been able to register voters from high school students on up to an 86-year-old woman who had never, ever had anyone talk to her before. And she decided that she was going to register to vote, which is amazing. As I've gone into neighborhoods from low income to upper middle class, I've had the opportunity to understand the issues that the people of my county and my state face and the things that they care about. The most empowering thing about registering someone to vote is the opportunity you give that person to have a voice. That person now gets a chance to say, I am here, and here's what I want from my community, and that is extremely powerful. The goal of this program is to register likely Democratic voters and bring lost voters back into the fold and welcome them into our party. I've been extremely grateful to have the opportunity to continue this work and I have engaged in for many, many years with the Register for 46 program. And I'm grateful that the South Carolina Democratic Party has invested in my community, and they made sure that we have the resources to continue this work and bring home some historic wins in 2022. With that, I am now going to introduce our fearless leader, Upstate's own South Carolina Democratic Party Chairman, Mr. Trav Robinson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And to all of our organizers, y'all stand up just a minute. We want to say thank you. We've started this voter registration, Register 46, something that hasn't been done before. The officers and our DNC committee members. You know, it's interesting. Right before I came out here, someone showed me a tweet, Mr. Chairman, of the chief of staff of the governor's office tweeted at me last night about how President Biden and Vice President Harris were destroying the economy. Well, I can tell you this. That the fact is that Henry McMaster is sacrificing the lives of people just because he wants a sales tax revenue. He's not going to do anything until after Labor Day because he wants that sales tax revenue to pay for our schools. But make no mistake, Trey Walker and Henry McMaster, instead of producing 60,000 jobs every month that we're adding to our workforce, we're adding 60,000 jobs every 3 days. That sounds like the foundation of a strong economy, Trey Walker. It's not any thanks to you and Henry McMaster. But without any further ado, I want to take just a moment to introduce someone who really needs no introduction. Last year, we raised the attention level on this state. We took the fight to Republicans in every nook and cranny of South Carolina, and we did it with a positive message of moving our state and our country forward. And we're fortunate enough to have one of South Carolina's favorite sons leading the Democratic National Party, and most importantly, taking the message on the road of how this administration is building back better. Ladies and gentlemen, our chair, my wonderful dear friend, Chairman Jaime Harrison. Our leader.
Thank you, Trav. Thank you, Chair. Thank you all for being here. It's so good to see you all. It is so good to see each and every one of you. And thank you all for being here today and braving this heat. You know, home sweet home. It is always good to be home and to be amongst family and friends. Folks, you know, since becoming DNC chair, I've been lucky enough to meet folks from all across this country. And with all the people I've met, I've noticed one thing in common. We've all got some hope. We all have hope again. We know that there's challenges still to come, but under the leadership of President Biden and the Democrats in Congress, we're seeing a new beginning in America. We have hope for a brighter future. Now, you all know that we're no strangers to hope here in South Carolina. It's in our state motto, while I breathe, I hope. And hope has always been an important part of my life. Growing up in Orangeburg, my family didn't have much. My mom and my grandparents worked hard to give me a good life. My mom worked at Starflow. My grandmother picked cotton in Orangeburg County and did domestic work. My grandfather laid asphalt all over the state, and I probably paved the roads that many of us drove up on. Life was not always easy. The fridge wasn't always full. We couldn't always keep the lights on, but we always had hope. Hope that tomorrow would be better. You know, hope is at the core of our democracy as well. Every vote is a profound expression of hope. Hope that change is possible. Hope that your voice matters. Hope that the person you're putting your faith in will deliver for you and your loved ones. And that sort of hope is a powerful thing. I felt it firsthand right here in South Carolina when I was running for the U.S. Senate. Folks were hoping to bring down South Carolina's big red wall. They were hoping for leaders that cared less about being politically relevant and more about delivering for them. 1.1 million South Carolinians put their hopes on our shoulders when they voted for Democrats last November. We came a little short, but we sent a clear message to the entire country. And that's not something I'm going to soon forget. My friends, that's why the right to vote is so sacred. That's why people like Congressman Jim Clyburn were ready to be beaten and bloodied for that right. When you take away someone's right to vote, you're trying to make them feel hopeless, powerless. That's how they wanted my grandfather and my grandmother and so many others to feel under Jim Crow. That's what Republicans want us to feel right now. They think that if they can put up enough obstacles, close enough polling places, shorten voting hours by just enough, then they can make you feel hopeless. And that when you're hopeless and when you're powerless, they finally have nobody who can stop them from spreading chaos. My friends, we are the wall between hope and chaos, and we can't falter. So we're going to let the Republican Party know that that's not going to happen. The Democratic Party will not allow it. My eldest son might bear my grandfather's name, but I refuse to let him bear the same burdens at the polls that my grandfather did. That's why Democrats recently expanded our I Will Vote initiative. Folks, we are building our largest voter protection team to be the biggest threat to voting rights in a generation. We're going to be on the ground all across the country, making sure people have everything that they need to make their vote count. And folks, when I say all across the country, I mean it. Democrats have a 57 state and territory strategy. We're not ceding ground anywhere. And Henry McMaster, that includes South Carolina. And our Red State Fund will lay the foundation for victory in places where Democrats face an uphill battle. My friends, I'm proud to say that we are making our very first Red State Fund investment right here in South Carolina. On top of the $15,000 that we already send from the DNC to the South Carolina Democratic Party, I am so honored today to announce an initial $100,000 to make sure that South Carolina Democratic Party Chair Robertson, the officers of the South Carolina Democratic Party, the DNC members, our leaders in the legislature, that they have the resources that they need to register more voters across this great state of ours. Folks are out there who believe in our message, but we got to spend the time and the money to reach them and to get them registered to vote. Building a movement takes time and it takes hard work, and the DNC is in this for the long haul. Together, we're going to knock down big red walls in South Carolina and all across the country. Together, we're going to send Henry McMaster packing. I can even go and fill a box for him, because it's time for him to go. My friends, our elders got us this far, but we got to take it the rest of the way. Not just for ourselves, but for our kids and those to come. The road ahead is tough. Right now, we're all that stands, again, between hope and chaos. And the Republicans so desperately crave the chaos. But our backs are strong, our plan is good, and we are no strangers to hard work. My friends, if we work together, if we go out and tell this message Talk about what we have been able to do. Talk about the fact that when Democrats are elected to office, we deliver. That's what this D on my lapel stands for. It's not just about Democrats. It's about delivering those child tax cuts, delivering refund checks, delivering vaccines and arms, delivering for our small businesses. While Republicans divide and obstruct, we deliver for the American people, and we will continue to do that. And we will do it with hope. My friends, thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you do each and every day. Let's go register more voters. Let's educate them, as Gilda said, and let's mobilize them to get them to the polls. Because the most powerful thing that we can do, the most powerful weapon that we have, is another four-letter word. We got hope. But in order to bring hope back to South Carolina, we got to get people to vote. So thank you all again. Thank you for all that you do. Mr. Chairman, thank you.